Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right into it. Today, we're going to walk step by step through O. Henry's classic short story, The Last Leaf. Our big goal here is to get you fully prepared for your upcoming English literature exams. We're going to break down the plot, the main characters, and those essential themes so that you can tackle literally any question your teacher throws your way with total confidence.
Now, you really want to pay close attention to this premise, because the whole emotional weight of our story rests on a life-or-death situation. It's a pretty simple setting, right? But O. Henry uses it to explore these massive ideas about friendship, hope, and ultimate human sacrifice. See, this isn't just a story about someone being sick. It's a story about the mind's incredible power to either destroy us or save us.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. The setup. 2. The falling leaves. 3. Enter Mr. Bearman. 4. The stormy night. 5. The twist ending. And finally, 6. Key themes and revision. Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Introduction to the Story, also known as the setup.
All right, here are the foundational facts you absolutely need for your notes. We've got Sue and Johnsy, two young artists sharing a little flat on the 3rd floor of this old house. And the timing is super important here. It's November. It's cold, it's bleak, and that brings us to the inciting incident, the event that basically kicks off the whole plot. Johnsy catches a really severe case of pneumonia. But here is the most crucial detail for your exams. The doctor tells Sue that Johnsy has actually made up her mind that she's not going to get well. So, her physical illness of pneumonia is immediately tied to her psychological state. She has completely lost her will to live. And without that spark, without that hope, the doctor's medicines are pretty much useless.
Moving right along to Section 2, The Falling Leaves, which introduces our core conflict.
So, as Johnsy just lies there motionless in bed, totally unable and unwilling to move, she gets obsessively fixated on the view out her window. Right outside, climbing halfway up the opposite brick wall, is this old ivy creeper. And because it's a harsh, windy autumn, the vine is rapidly shedding its leaves. Johnsy just lies there staring out, watching them blow away one by one.
Out of nowhere, Sue catches Johnsy doing something pretty unsettling. She's counting backwards. Notice the terrifying countdown happening here. Johnsy whispers 12, then 11, then down to 5. She tells Sue that just 3 days ago there are almost 100 leaves, but now they're falling faster and faster. You can actually feel the tension building up in the text as Johnsy marks the rapid disappearance of these leaves. It becomes a deeply unsettling countdown.
Now this brings us to a quote you definitely need to highlight in your notes. Johnsy says, "When the last leaf falls, I will die. I have known this for the last 3 days." This is such a crucial quote to memorize. It perfectly illustrates Johnsy's fatalistic belief and shows just how completely she's given up hope. She has literally linked her own lifespan to the lifespan of a fragile little leaf blowing in the wind. If you happen to get an exam question comparing these two friends, and you probably will, remember this stark contrast. On one side, we have Sue's desperate, energetic attempts to sustain life, and on the other, Johnsy's passive acceptance of death. Sue brings her soup, she tries to chat about clothes, she even whistles cheerfully while she's painting to try and earn money for them. She tells Johnsy the whole idea of dying with the leaves is just nonsense. Meanwhile, Johnsy just wants to see that last leaf fall so she can, as she puts it, sleep forever. Sue is fighting tooth and nail for life, while Johnsy is just surrendering. This leads us to Section 3, Enter Mr. Bearman, and the Intervention. So Sue heads down to the ground floor to find a model for her painting, and that's where we meet Mr. Bearman. He's a 60-year-old painter. But here's the really fascinating thing about Bearman. His defining characteristic is this idea of his masterpiece. For his entire life, Bearman has dreamed of painting one true masterpiece, but it's remained nothing but an unfulfilled dream. Keep this concept of a masterpiece right in the back of your mind, because O. Henry uses this detail brilliantly to set up the story's big conclusion. Sue is just frantic, right? She pours her heart out to Bearman about Johnsy's obsession with the leaves. Bearman's initial reaction is pure anger. He asks if Johnsy is stupid and calls the whole idea foolish. But hey, don't let his harsh words fool you. He might sound a bit gruff, but his immediate willingness to drop everything and go upstairs to check on her shows he truly cares for these two girls. He acts almost like a protective grandfather. They tiptoe into the room, look out the window, and see only one leaf left in the icy rain. Bearman doesn't say a single word. He just looks and then goes back to his room.
Now we hit the climax in Section 4, The Stormy Night. And let me tell you, that night is absolutely brutal. The text describes this heavy, freezing rain and an icy cold wind blowing fiercely. It's the exact kind of weather that strips every tree completely bare. And remember, hanging onto that brick wall opposite Johnson's window is just one single, fragile ivy leaf. Both the girls and Mr. Behrman downstairs know for a fact that the final leaf cannot possibly survive weather like this.
When morning breaks, Johnson asks Sue to draw back the curtains in this weak, feeble little voice. Sue is absolutely terrified to do it. She does it reluctantly, dreading what she's about to see. The suspense here is just masterfully done. Johnson went to sleep totally convinced she'd wake up to an empty vine, which in her mind means her own death. So, will the leaf be there?
Which brings us to Section 5, the twist ending and our resolution. Sue pulls open the curtains and she literally gasps in shock. Defying all logic and that completely fierce storm, the single leaf is still there. It is stubbornly clinging to the creeper on the brick wall. And even more surprising, it actually looks quite green and healthy. It survived a terrible night of wind and rain. And then, amazingly enough, it survives another whole day and another stormy night.
This little miracle changes absolutely everything for our main character. Seeing that leaf stubbornly hang on creates a massive turning point for Johnsy. She lies there looking at it for a long time. And then she calls out to Sue. She finally admits, "The last leaf has shown me how wicked I have been." She realizes that giving up was wrong. She asks for some soup, she asks for a mirror to comb her hair, and she smiles. Her will to live has finally returned.
Later, the doctor comes by, examines Johnsy, and confidently declares that she has her will to live back. She's going to recover soon. But here is where O. Henry hits us with his famous twist. The doctor also brings some really grim news about Mr. Behrman downstairs. Afterwards, Sue comes over to Johnsy's bed, takes her hand, and asks her to look very closely at that final leaf out the window. Why doesn't it flutter or move at all when the wind blows?
Sue reveals the heartbreaking truth. Mr. Behrman passed away from pneumonia that morning in the hospital. He was only ill for 2 days. The janitor had found him in his room, his clothes and shoes soaking wet and freezing cold. Why? Because out in that terrible stormy night, Behrman had taken a ladder, a lighted lantern, and his green and yellow paints. He braved the freezing storm to paint a perfect, realistic leaf on the brick wall exactly where the real last leaf had fallen. He gave Johnsy the hope she so desperately needed, but he caught fatal pneumonia in the process.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, Key Themes and Revision for your exam prep.
All right, here's your ultimate revision checklist. Make sure you jot these down. First up, the power of hope and the will to live. The story teaches us that medicine is useless without a positive mindset. Johnsy only recovers when that painted leaf gives her hope. Second, ultimate sacrifice. Behrman literally trades his life to save Johnsy's. And finally, the true meaning of art. If you get an essay question on this, make sure you explicitly connect Behrman's actions to these themes of sacrifice and selflessness. Art, in this story, isn't just a pretty picture to hang on a wall. It is a lifesaver. And that brings us right back full circle to the concept of the masterpiece. At the very end, Sue tells Johnsy that's Behrman's masterpiece. He finally painted the masterpiece he always dreamed of. But he didn't paint it for fame or for money or for a fancy gallery. He painted it out of pure, selfless love for his neighbor. It was a masterpiece because of what it achieved. It saved a human life. So as you head into your exams and get ready to write about this incredibly beautiful story, ask yourself this. Is the true value of art found in how perfectly it's painted or in the human life it manages to save? Keep these themes in mind, remember how the plot flows, and you're going to do fantastic on your test. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Study hard, and I'll see you next time.